Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's Thursdays with AARP show. I'm your host, Amber Miller, and also the Associate State Director of Community Outreach. Before we get to our guest today, please remember to check out the AARP Wisconsin website for any upcoming virtual events, information, and articles. Please also remember the AARP Friendly Voice Initiative. Sometimes you just hearing a friendly voice on the other end in these challenging times can really help. You could call the phone number below to request a phone call, or the website below where you can request it for yourself, or if you happen to have a loved one that could use a phone call, you can put that request in. It's open to any age, and also you do not need to be an AARP member. So now, even though this is a pre-recorded show, you might be looking out your window and it might be snowing. So today is a perfect time for us to talk to Neil McCallum, who is the AARP Wisconsin State Coordinator, volunteer for the Driver Safety Program. Good afternoon, Neil.
Good afternoon, Amber.
How are you doing today?
Very well. Yes, it is snowing here in Madison today, and so it is a very appropriate topic.
Absolutely. And so, Neil, I was researching some information on the DOT website, and it said according to the Wisconsin DOT, there are on average 20,000 motor vehicle crashes each winter, which actually seems a little low season within the state. And in these crashes, 6,000 people are injured. And so I think it's just a really great time to have you on the show today to talk a little bit about some driver safety tips, especially when it comes to winter related weather. So I want to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you. And thank AARP Wisconsin for allowing this program to go on and to have this topic, very timely topic, addressed. I would say that this year it's going to be maybe a little bit worse from the standpoint of driving accidents and injuries due to bad weather. With the virus, many of us are not driving as much as we normally would. And as such, we don't have the experience that we normally have built up. And so it's going to be very difficult when we do get on the road with snowy and icy conditions. As with all the recommendations around the state, if we can stay home, please do. But if we do have to go out, let's be careful out there. There's a couple of aspects that I'd like to stress today with regard to winter driving. And this will be just a good refresher on what good safe driving principles can apply in winter weather.
Great. And we will bring up your slide, Neil. And I do think, I am one that I always actually am scared to drive in the snow, and I haven't been driving as much this year for COVID, and I'm glad that you brought that up. So, so let's turn it back over to you with your slide. Sorry about that. I went off topic. Okay. Sorry about that, Neil.
Very appropriate. And in scouting, our motto was be prepared. And that is very applicable to winter weather driving. First of all, let's check the weather. There's many vehicles that we can use to check the weather, social media, our streaming services, the TV. It's good to know what you're going to experience as you get out on the road. Again, do you have to go out? Could the trip wait for a little bit later when the roads are cleared? It's important that you think about that and also plan your route. We're all used to going to the store by the same route. However, that might be secondary routes. Main roads are cleared well before the secondary routes. And so Maybe if you were to drive out onto the main road, you could get to the store safer. It might take a little bit longer. It may also involve a few less hills, and it's not your normal way of getting there, but it works. So give that some thought. It's always good to have an emergency kit within your car. And I would suggest that in bad weather, you might take it from the trunk and put it in the back seat, because if you should slide off or get into an accident, you don't want to have to get out of the car, get in your trunk, and get your emergency kit. Now, what's appropriate for emergency kit? A cell phone charger, definitely. Absolutely carry your cell phone, a small shovel, a kitty litter, and sand. If you should get into a or a sliding situation, kitty litter and sand are good for traction. An ice scraper, first aid kit, blanket, flashlight. When was the last time you checked the batteries in your emergency kit flashlight? And then you might also want to have a white flag or a rag in your car, so that if you should get into a slide off situation, you can put it out and hang it from your window to signal people that the car's occupied and that you need help. Now, also, as we haven't been driving, it's also a good idea to check your vehicle. Your battery might not be as fully charged as it would had you driven the car every day. Make sure you check your windshield wiper washer fluid, your fuel level, and your tire and tire pressure. And I repeated fuel level there twice, but it's important to check that. With regard to tire pressure, probably many of you have had an instance where your tire pressure gauge on your dashboard has been lit. As the weather cools, the air within your tire condenses and the air pressure is lower. And so you want to top that off to the correct amount of air pressure. How do you find the air pressure, the correct air pressure for your vehicle? It's printed on a label on the door jamb of the driver's side door. And so you can look there and then fill the tires up to the appropriate level. If you are parked outside and your car is covered in snow, please clear your car off completely. That's all windows, mirrors, hood, top, trunk, front and rear lights. This takes time, and you really need to plan accordingly as you go out, so that you allow enough time to do this clearing. It always is a concern when you're going down the road and somebody has just cleared their front windshield. They can't see, and you can't. They can't see you, and it's really a dangerous situation. So please clear your car off completely. Another thing to be careful about is when you're driving, stay back from semi trucks. They can't clear the top of the semi trucks off, and that whole section of snow is going to come down onto the road, and if it hits your car, that can be an issue.
Absolutely. And Neil, that's a really great reminder about the emergency kit in the car, because I am very guilty of not having one. So I think it's nice when people, are watching this video, do they have an emergency kit? And also that might actually be a really great gift around the holidays for maybe even a new driver, an experienced driver, to get them some of the items that you were talking about.
No, that's a very good idea. If you drive only in urban areas, it might not be as critical, but for you living in Milwaukee, coming to Madison on I-94, absolutely, you definitely need to have an emergency kit.
Absolutely. And we have another slide coming up. So, Neil, you're going to talk a little bit about, so we talked about preparing to drive or ways that we can be prepared. And now you're going to talk a little bit about why you're driving during the bad weather.
Absolutely. Now that you've prepared yourself and your vehicle, okay, if you have to go out, you can do so, but please, please slow down. Uh, but the sign says I can go 35 miles an hour. Well, no, that's not entirely correct because the signs are set for optimum conditions. Winter weather is not optimum conditions, and so you really do need to slow down and be patient. Expect the unexpected. Uh, that car coming at you, throwing up a lot of ice and snow into your windshield, you never see that coming, but it'll happen. And so you have to be very careful about that. When you're driving, you'll be sharing the road with road clearing vehicles. And please, the state law requires that you stay 200 feet back from that vehicle. And they're going relatively slow. They're swerving in and out around vehicles. So you need to keep back so that you are protected from them and that you're staying back from the abrasives that likely they are spreading. The sand and the salt bounce and will hit your car. And so it's for your protection as well to stay back and let the abrasives settle and you can stay safe. In Wisconsin, we have the move over law, and this is a law that applies to winter driving or any driving. Is you have to move over into a lane furthest away from the vehicle if there's a vehicle off to the side of the road with their amber or red lights flashing. Police will ticket you for not moving over. And so it's very, very important and courteous to move over and allow room between that emergency vehicle or maintenance vehicle and yourself. Another item when you're driving is to stay in one lane if at all possible. As the snow builds up and the cars go down the lanes, a icy hump will form over the lane line. And it's important that if you do need to change lanes, you grip the steering wheel firmly with both hands and you slowly go through that hump. It's going to pull on your wheels. You're going to notice it, the resistance in your steering wheel, but you have to be very, very careful as you go across that hump. Skids are always a possibility with winter weather. One thing that we can do to prevent skids is not overbrake and not accelerate too fast. What you want to do is make sure that you allow plenty of time to stop. Well, first of all, you don't want to be tailgating somebody, but beyond that, you want to allow plenty of stopping distance, and you also want to not accelerate too fast and drive below the speed limit. If you do get into a skidding situation, it's best to take your foot off the gas and not brake, but steer in the direction you want to go. When you brake, you're basically locking up your wheels, which will further aggravate the skid, even if you have anti-lock brakes. So just drive cautiously, plot your route, and don't speed. That's the best you can do. Another point that we were just talking about in the prelude is the fact that if you can, avoid stopping on a hill, because especially with the first snowstorm, there's a lot of oil that's been built up on the roadway, and with the water and the ice or the snow, you're not going to get the traction that you would like to get as you pull out. So if you can stop at a bottom of a hill and then slowly climb the hills so that you don't have to take off on a hill, which will likely end up in your tires not having good traction.
Absolutely. And Neil, I know that driver safety is normally a series or a workshop that's done in person, but because of COVID, all AARP events have been virtual. So if you could tell us a little bit about if our viewers they would like to take driver safety course or get some more information.
Yes, we regret that we can't offer our in-person class, but the best way to gain the knowledge about safe driving and to refresh your skills is to take it online. And basically, we're offering a discount, which is not much more than the in-person classes at $16.46 for AARP members if you take the AARP driver safety class online. The other thing to remember is United Healthcare supplemental Medicare insurance customers will take the class for free through June 2023. And as we're in enrollment period, it might be something you may want to consider when you're choosing your Medicare plan.
Great. So the information, if we could just put up the slide only, just so people can see that information. There we go. So all the information is below that Neil talked about, and that's such great news regarding United Healthcare, the supplement that people can get it free for almost the next 3 years. So any final words to our viewers about safe driving during, which we know will be winter here in Wisconsin, at least another 5 to 6 months? Any final comments?
Well, keep in mind, you do live in Wisconsin and we do have winter, and yes, you'll probably have to get out. So please, please be prepared, drive safely, watch your speed, and be safe.
Absolutely, and have that emergency kit.
Absolutely.
I also did,
and
oh, go ahead.
please, Amber, check your emergency kit, okay?
Okay, well, I'm gonna first buy one and then I will make sure I check it on a regular basis. So Neil, thank you so much for joining us today. We always appreciate you being on. The information you share is valuable to any age, especially here in Wisconsin. So thank you again for joining us.
It's our pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And here is some information on some upcoming events that might be of interest to you or to someone you know. December 1st, which is coming up, Caregiving During Uncertain Times. December 2nd, we have a one-day university lecture all about the modern whiskey boom, which sounds very interesting. December 3rd is the Girlfriend Talk with Nancy O'Dell. So all the information and to register, you can click on the website below or the phone number if you would like to register over the phone. And for next week's show, please join us next Thursday as we talk about Create the Good, Honoring Heroes contest with our guest, Carol Rick. So we're excited to have her, which will be our next Thursday show. And please note, once again, this is a pre-recorded show, but if you have any questions for Neil or tips and tricks on how you stay safe during driving during our winter months, you can please post them below. And also feel free to share this video on your Facebook page or tag a friend or family member that could use some of these tips and tricks on winter driving. Thank you again for joining us today, and be safe.